the blue wheel. There we go. I think we're live. 1 second in. Good evening. Good evening, social media land. How are you this evening? It's Tuesday evening, so that means it's me. It's better than the soaps or anything else that you can watch on TV. It's Creative Genius TV. That's exactly what it is. And I've got an awesome guest tonight, so that I don't have to do all the talking, because I've been talking incessantly for the last week through the challenge that I've just done and the masterclass that I did last night. So I'm kind of sick of my own voice. So for those of you that don't know me, I'll always do this. I always do. I'm Mandy Nicholson, the Creative Genius Consultant. I'm an artist, I'm an author, and I help creative women to launch, grow, and scale their businesses and make more money. That's what I do. And I've just been through a massive launch, and I wanted to bring a guest on tonight and talk about growth and change. Hey, Alex is on. Hey, how are you? So we're going to be talking about growth and change tonight. So I'm going to introduce Jen Mansfield. I'm going to let her introduce herself in a moment. But there's a reason I want to talk about growth and change tonight. I think when we do anything big in our lives or in our businesses, it doesn't even have to be big to anyone else other than you. We experience growth and change, but we also experience resistance. We're wired in a way to try and pull back from it and avoid it. And I want to just chat about that tonight and talk about how we react as humans and why we react as humans, and how actually digging deep and looking into the growth and change and acknowledging it and stopping and having a look and accepting it can be really beneficial to you in your life and your business. So I'm going to hand over to Jen now. Jen, introduce yourself and let's have a chat.
Hey everyone. Thank you, Mandy, so much for having me on tonight. I was just saying how long it's been since we've done one of these, and I've been so excited to jump on a chat with you again and talking about one of my favorite topics as well, growth and change. As Mandy said, I am Jen Mansfield. I am a speaker and writer and fulfillment coach that helps women just uncover, peel back all the kind of layers of conditioning to get back to that kind of authentic self, and then help you grow and blossom and bloom from there on a journey of self-discovery, really, and to a place of infinite possibilities where anything is possible. But with that comes the growth and the change. And, you know, as I say to my clients, we don't grow when we're comfortable. And so it's brilliant to have someone like me or someone like Mandy kind of on your side when those wobbles hit, so that you've got a cheerleader who's kind of been through it and experienced it and can't do that work for you, but can say, it's okay. Like, I've been there, I've done that, I've taken that leap, I didn't die, it's all right. You can do it too.
Totally that, Jen, and still doing it and still not dying. Yeah.
That's the thing, every single day. I mean, you know, this life is for learning. Like, all we are is change. But sometimes we get so caught up in kind of the day-to-day and what we think is possible that we can lose sight of actually what's possible when we let go of the more mundane and start to look outside of the boxes we create for ourselves. So yeah.
I introduced you on the masterclass last night. I told everybody about you, and I told everybody that you were the lady that is going to teach everybody to walk on water. So I've set a very high standard. So
no pressure, it's coming.
So one of the things that I sort of revealed and talked about this morning was in my group, the Creative Genius Corner, which is where I share everything first. And it's a safe space to talk. You know, I'm surrounded by creative women that are similar to me. And that's always a place to start, isn't it, when you start sharing your growth and change? Because I had made a few decisions last week while I was experiencing growth. Because when you deliver something, when you create something big, and then you structure it and you build it and then you implement it, and then, you know, you deliver it to people and watch them grow and watch their reactions and watch how they change over a week of working with you, you can't help but have some change and growth yourself. And that's what happened to me. And it's really, this is something I'm used to doing. And I think it's important to note this, is that I'm used to doing this. I do it all the time. I stop and I say, what happened to me? How do I feel? What's changed in me through doing this? And that's the dog just commenting there. Yeah. Thanks, Bo. Keep your opinion to yourself. What's changed in me and actually I had a huge change. I and I want to share that before I sort of bring you in again, Jen, in that it's now been a year and a half since Gary died. And last year, my identity was widow and I was grieving and I was still trying to run my business. I wasn't fully in it because grief kept pulling me back, because it does, and you can't avoid that. But I felt the emotions and I felt the feelings and allowed myself to grieve and allowed myself to go through that process, because that was a period of growth and change for me that was shaping the future me. So I'm now stepping into the skin and the persona of the future me, that is Mandy, who is building a mini castle and who is growing and scaling her business, who is working with more and new women, who is changing. So symbolically today, I took off my wedding ring and engagement ring because I'm ready. I grew so much last week that I was ready. Here they are. I was ready to make this step forward on my own. And I gave them a purpose. I didn't just take them off. I spoke to my daughter on Sunday and I said, this is what I'm planning to do because I've had this growth this week. Would you like these rings? They will be going to her anyway after I pop my clogs, but I want to give them purpose. They need to be on somebody's finger and somebody enjoying them. So Becca's going to take them now because Dan doesn't wear rings. And she's going to wear, there's £3,000 worth of rings there. She's going to wear these and she understands where they come from and that it's very symbolic that her mother has been through a period of growth, personal growth and change. And that's going to be really meaningful for her. And she's going to remember that. And it's meaningful for me. But I stopped to do all of that in amongst everything else that was going on. And I think that's one of the most important parts of growth and change. So we have to allow ourselves to feel it, to embrace it, to step into this new skin, this new persona, because we are always evolving and changing. So you've got a very, very unique perception, haven't you, if I can call it that, of the world. Yeah. And I love it. So share that with the people that are watching tonight and talk about growth and change from your view.
So I initially came into the personal development field and that world, I'm trying to do my maths, like 8-9 years ago now, when I had been suffering for various bouts of my life with quite severe depression and anxiety, and had decided to call it a day. And to cut a very long story short, basically, it just so happened that I had just purchased a property with my then partner, thankfully now husband, and happened to check the life assurance policy we'd taken out because my parents always taught me to read the small print. So I did, and it said it wouldn't pay out if one of the signatories committed suicide within 12 months. So I literally gave myself a deadline of 12 months to either sort this, whatever was causing this depression, anxiety, and whatever was happening that the therapy and the drugs, everything couldn't help with, or I'd be gone and solve the problem a different way if the 12 months was up and I was still feeling the same. And thank goodness I delved into the world of personal development, because 8 years later, I'm still here, thriving more than ever. I'm now married to that lovely, lovely man. We have a beautiful home. We have 2 gorgeous children together. And it all started with me dipping a toe into a journey of looking within. And that was the biggest learning, was realizing that everything we need is within us. And so often we go seeking outside of us what it is we need. And this is where people like Mandy are so awesome at what they do, because she doesn't fix you. She doesn't give you the answers. She's just there holding the torch for you, just as I do with my clients, like shining the torch in those darker corners where you haven't thought to look in yourself yet. That's it. Like, you've already got all the capabilities within you. But this journey that I went on has led to my own frequent growth and frequent change in both identities and beliefs, and the work I do as well. And I'm currently in a whole new transition phase now. So actually, if you like what I do, you can't buy anything off me at the moment, because I'm changing all of it based on my own new growth. And that's what I want to share with you today is it was last August, actually, so just over a year ago for me, where I had to date one of the most profound experiences of my life, where these days I'm quite into meditation, and I'm also a trained hypnotherapist and do a lot of trance work and things like that I really enjoy. And I was doing this trance, and I came upon a place where I experienced the oneness that all these people talk about lots of times, like in yoga and in spirituality. And they're like, we're all one, man. Like, it's all one and the same. And I'm like, yeah, all right. And, you know, traditionally I've been such a cynic with all of this stuff, but my personal experience and the experience that I'm looking now at sharing with more and more people is that place of where we can go within and become everything and nothing, everyone and no one. And in that place, we are one and the same. And there is no fear there. And one of the cornerstones of the work I do is the map of our reality. And it talks about how our reality is only made up of our perception based on our own beliefs and values, which in themselves are formed around the identities that we give ourselves or that we allow other people to put on us. And all of that is fluid. All of that is ever changing. Mandy, you yourself said that you went through that huge change from wife to widow and now to solo businesswoman. And that doesn't negate all of those identities you've previously been or anything you've been before. They are all one and part of you. And you know, it's part of what makes you whole. And a real aha moment to me was recognizing I spent years thinking that this depression was my shadow kind of thing, and I needed to get rid of it. It was a bad part of me that I didn't want. And actually, more recently, I've been really looking at integrating that part of me, because when I still get those low moods and when I'm in those places, it's where I do some of my best creative work. That is where my best writing comes from. That's where my best creation comes from. I then wait till I'm in more of a light space to then share what I've created, because I get quite introverted when I'm in those shadow moments. But if you think of it like the seasons, nature at the moment, it's reminding us how important it is to let go, to reflect, to harvest on all that we've already grown and created and made manifest. And then to take that rest, to reflect. We can't be on all the time. And this was something I was hugely guilty of doing, always being on. You know, always trying to achieve more, be, do, have more. And I said to Mandy the other day in a chat, I was like, it's just clicked. It's only taken me 3 years and a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old to realize I can't physically work a 40-hour work week at the moment. It's not possible. But I've spent the best part of the last 3 years beating myself up for not achieving all I want to achieve in the time I have, forgetting that the time I have is actually a few hours a week, child-free, really. And so, you know, it's about going easy and loving yourself, because the miracles happen when you start to see in light. Miracles happen around us all of the time. And Roald Dahl himself said, like, you know, if you don't believe in magic, you'll never see it. And it's really interesting that the most common kind of belief is, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. But actually, we've got it completely back to front. You'll see it when you believe it.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to your own personal growth and achieving your own goals and stepping into that person you want to be, before you do anything, before you do any of the doing, you've got to believe it. And you've got to know that if Mandy can achieve it, then you can achieve it.
Yep.
You know, if anyone can achieve anything, you know, if the Wright brothers can fly, then you can fly. Like we are all human and we are all innately the same. And if you still don't believe in miracles, right? Think about this. One, you're a born winner because every single one of you watching this beat ballpark 40 billion sperm cells to actually be sat here right now. So you already won probably the biggest race of your life. So pat on the back for that. If you've done that, then you can only grow from there, right?
Yep.
And you can do anything when you have that imagination. The power of imagination is what I believe as humans is our absolute superpower. And so everything in this world's created twice, first in your imagination or in your mind's eye, and then in reality. But the biggest step is actually having that vision in the first place. The fear and the self-doubt and the self-sabotage and stuff, yes, that gets away. And yes, that's a ball ache. And that's why you need someone like me in your corner to do that. But even I need someone like that in my corner. My saboteurs sat on my shoulder. And so even though I'm fab at working with other people, I don't have, you know, I haven't sort of completely fixed myself in terms of that. Like it still happens because your saboteurs are part of you, but it's learning to love that saboteur and recognize that it in itself is coming from a place of love. It's trying to protect you and keep you safe by keeping you in a small box. So instead of getting annoyed at yourself or that little voice in your head and being like, oh, I can't do this, and just letting it talk louder than you are, just thank it. Be like, thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I don't need this right now. I'm actually going to be really safe in this new phase of growth. And so thanks for looking after me, but just hush for a bit. And I know you've got my back if I need it. You know, and just remember, like, that can't be your voice, because if it's your voice, then who's listening? And so take a moment, you know, as Mandy said, taking those moments to reflect and like think are really, really invaluable, because that's when you get the new perspectives. When we're so busy in our day-to-day lives of doing and, you know, ticking off the to-do list and all of that stuff, it can get really, really difficult to see the wood for the trees. And it's when you take those couple of quiet minutes, and it really does need to be minutes sometimes, doesn't it, Mandy?
Yeah, totally.
And, you know, and you can look back. I remember doing a triathlon back in, I think it was 2015. I decided my first triathlon would be a half Ironman because I'm a bit crazy like that. And on top of it, I'm also absolutely terrified of open water. So sea, lakes, anything, because I have an absolutely fab imagination. And do you know what else a fab imagination is really good for? Giving yourself really good anxiety. And so I'm one of the best people I know at doing anxiety, purely because I can do everything in full HD surround sound definition of all how terribly bad it's going to go.
Yes.
Yeah. And so this is the thing. And as creatives, a lot of us do this. And actually, it's about being like, wow, I create amazing pictures, but I also get to pick what movies I watch. You know, like if you watch a rubbish movie on TV on a Saturday night, do you just keep watching it? Or do you think, do you know what? I'm going to choose a better way to spend these 3 hours and either flick the channel or turn it off, take the DVD out and put a different one in. Or do you keep watching a shit DVD or a scary DVD that you're terrified of? You know, we don't. And yet we let our minds play those movies. We just sit there watching them, like going, "Oh God, that could happen." But you know, it doesn't. And when we live in the moment, it can't happen anyway. So if you think about it, for example, if you know if someone's about to cross the road and a car nearly hits them, you can be like, "Oh, that was close." We're like, "Oh my God, that car could have hit me." God, and then I wouldn't have been able to pick up the kids from nursery, and like, who would have known? And suddenly you've got this entire film that you've just created running, and you've completely lost track of what you were about to do. Your chances are dramatically increased. You're actually going to get hit by a car now because you're not actually in the moment focusing on what you're doing. And you're spending all this creative energy that you could be funneling into actually creating something of value and worth into scaring the shit out of yourself, you know? And
playing the victim in the film, and that's what you're playing, the victim. You're playing the person that is not as good as everybody else, that's talking themselves down. That's what you're doing when you're playing that. And I know people that do this. You hear them talk, don't you? And you want them to change the script,
change the narrative. Yeah. And it's always because of somebody else. And the thing with that is it's so disempowering, because all the power is within you. And one of the things is no one can make you feel anything. Only you can make you feel something. So next time you have a row, don't go, oh, you make me so angry. Because no, they don't make you angry. You're allowing their behavior to make you angry. But as Mandy said, with the emotions of grief, and you're learning and having to actually sit with those emotions, not repress them or suppress them, and, you know, and just put them to the back because they're not nice things to feel. Actually honoring them and letting yourself sit through that was what enabled you to move through them, because it's like it's kind of like a river of kind of energy. So I always say emotion is like energy in motion. And so we want to keep those emotions moving so that they can transform and transcend into the next one and the next one and the next one. So, you know, grief can turn into anger, can turn into forgiveness, can turn into love, you know, and they all change. But when we prevent ourselves from feeling, then think of it like stagnant water that's kind of caught in a pool or something. Like, it very quickly becomes diseased and nothing can live there. And anger is one of the most powerful ones. There's a saying that I absolutely love. It's by one of the ancient philosophers, but I can never remember which one. It says anger is more corrosive to the vessel in which it's held than that which it's poured over. And just think about that. Whether you're angry at yourself, whether you're angry at the world, whether you're angry at someone else, you get to choose whether you hold on to that anger or whether you just let it go down the river. And one of the best mantras that you can have, in my opinion, in this world is a very well-known nursery rhyme. I'm sure you all already know it, but it's a brilliant one to live by, which is row, row, row your boat. Because all you have to do is row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. And so many of us try and force and try and push and try and control. And we're going up the stream. We're going against the flow of things. But there's a natural order. Things happen whether you make them happen or not. What's supposed to happen will happen. It's a bit like the tide in the ocean. Like, the waves will come and the waves will go. And you can try and stop them however you like. But the more you try and control something, and this is something I've found personally myself, particularly recently, is the more control I try to have, the more I throttle an idea, so that the tighter I try and hold on to it. And it just, it cuts off that creativity. It cuts off the solutions that naturally come to us as creatives when we're trying to control the outcome. And actually, one of the things that I encourage with my clients is, instead of controlling what cannot be controlled, you cannot control life. None of us can. None of us can predict it. We can only control our response to it. But the most powerful thing we can do is to get comfortable not knowing.
Yep.
And if you're comfortable not knowing, then nothing can scare the shit out of you, because it's the needing to know that is the thing that causes us to turn around in circles, and that causes that saboteur to start chatting to us, being like, yes, well, this could happen. Like, you don't know. Of course it could happen. But equally, it could not happen, you know? And going all the way back to the story I was halfway through before I digressed with the triathlon. Oh my goodness. One day I'll speak on a one single
No, you won't. No.
You know, Mandy was talking about taking that time to reflect, and I was in the swim part in the lake, in Ullswater Lake in the Lake District. And thank God they didn't tell me beforehand with my creative imagination, because apparently parts of that lake are classed as bottomless. There is no freaking way I'd have got in that lake if I'd known that before. But I was about 2/3 through the swim, and I trained hard for the swim. I was living in London at the time. So the open water I trained in was Hampstead Ponds and the Serpentine as well. So not really open water, but the closest I could get. And then in the pool as well. And actually, before I decided to do this triathlon, I couldn't even swim front crawl properly. So I'd learned to swim front crawl. I'd learned to train in open water, kind of semi get over my fear, do the distance. And I'd also learned to run and bought a bike that I hadn't ridden since I was 14, and all of this stuff. So I trained really hard, and I knew I had the bike and the run down. I knew I could do the swim. But the fear was getting to me, and the water had been so cold, and I hadn't been able to catch my breath at the start, and then everyone was splashing around and someone knocked my goggles off, and I just absolutely freaked out. And so I was there doing breaststroke, which in a wetsuit is never a great idea. You're not going anywhere fast. And I'd fallen right to the back, and I could see everyone else in the distance. And this canoeist, like one of the safety marshals, was sort of alongside me, bless him, kind of cheering me on, going, keep going, keep going. I went, you just stop for a second, just stop. And I was like, no, I've got to get out. I've got to get out. Like, I've got to get to the end. Because he was saying, look, we're going to have to pull you out soon. Like, hypothermia is a risk. And I was like, no, I can't, like, not complete this. And he said, just stop, hang on to my canoe. He was like, you won't be disqualified as long as you don't move anywhere. He said, and just turn around and look at where the start line is and look at how far you've come. And eventually he managed to convince me to just stop and take a breath and see that I was most of the way round. And I'd done it through a combination of kind of breaststroke and then a few seconds front crawl and then panicked breaststroke again. But I'd done it by any means. And it is that mind over matter thing. But by reflecting, I was like, right, I've already come this far. It's only so much further. And then I knew I was on the home straight then, because I knew my bike and my run were strong. But it's so important to take that time and actually look, because that's where the learning happens. But also get out of your comfort zone, because we don't grow when we're comfortable. If you think about it, we're exactly who we need to be right now to do everything we do right now. So to be able to do something extra, we have to grow extra. And that means taking a leap of faith. But a brilliant hack, if you like, for this is, again, that imagination, which as creatives, we fucking rock it anyway. And create an alter ego. Beyonce did it. Robbie Williams did it. All the greatest performers do it. Create an alter ego, preferably with some form of your name in it, so that you've got a direct association. And have that alter ego be, do, and have everything you want to be doing. And then just step into them. So, you know, Beyonce, okay, she used Sasha Fierce. She didn't use her own name. But then she famously killed Sasha Fierce when she became who she needed to be. But she needed Sasha Fierce in those formative years in order for Beyonce to step into her absolute power, because she didn't believe little Beyonce Knowles was quite capable. And she's got strong belief, but there was still some self-doubt there, you know, like all of us have. And again, use that as inspiration. If someone like Beyonce kind of has self-doubt and like little gremlins talking to her, and she's able to use that imagination to create a persona of who she wants to be and then grow into her. So that's your kind of map. And one day you'll wake up and realize you are everything you wanted to be and more, because not only have you imagined yourself there, you've also grown into her. And with that come a whole host of lessons and experiences that you wouldn't have banked on having. And so, as Mandy said, like, I believe we can walk on water, and I believe I've cracked the theory. I just haven't cracked the practicality yet. So that's what I'm working on. But honestly, it's the belief and the power of imagination. And as creatives, we are so, so blessed, because actually every single human is born creative. But it's trained out of us these days. And we're living in a scary, scary world right now. And we are in need of creatives more than ever to think a creative way out of where we currently are. But we need to not channel that creativity into the negative, oh my God, the world's gone to shit, it's going to end, everyone's terrible. We need to channel that creativity into positive vision where we come together, where we strive to experience that oneness and that uniqueness within that. If you think of a ball of light and all the beams of light within it, we're all just fractals of that one energy. First law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. And so this is where loss can become easier, because you know that that person's energy isn't gone, it's just transformed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not in the physical body, because that physical body had done what it needed to do and it had taken the learning, because time and our bodies are learning tools. That's all they are. Our bodies are really useful means of communication with each other. And time is what we need to assimilate some of the learning we do. But here's the thing, miracles transcend space, time, and body.
Mm-hmm.
In a miracle moment, you can learn something that would take 1,000 years to learn in the fraction of a second. And that's the beauty with change, is you can change at the speed of a thought. You can be a completely new person. But you've got to allow yourself to keep thinking those thoughts and not cast that thought and then reel it back in and be like, oh no, that's not me. Of course it's you if you want it to be you.
It's choice, isn't it? It's choosing to take the thought. For me, it's that thought and going, you know what, that thought deserves to be somewhere in my life and I deserve to be the thought. I take my thoughts and I put them on mind maps, on wallpaper, and I create vision from them. And I say, how can I be? You know, this is Mandy that's gone on her way to a castle. You're watching me. Most of you that know me are watching me going to my castle. I'm doing it through time. There will be obstacles. There are problems. They are there. I've just said to Jen the other day when we talked, I'm running out of money for the house. It's double the cost it started with. I don't care. I'll find a way. Money will come. It will happen. I will finish it. I don't shed 1 second of thinking to, I can't do this. Oh my goodness, I've not got enough resources. It's like, you know, I'll toddle down there and let the contractors in this morning and, you know, I'll get them working. And this is a project that I am just doing because I'm in that persona of Mandy of the castle.
Yeah, you're already her. And so nothing is going to take you off of that path. No. And here's the thing with obstacles and hillocks and whatever you want to call them that come your way, is if you begin to look at them as opportunities to learn and grow, because it's like, oh, hang on, the current me doesn't quite know what to do here. So this is simply a challenge for me to grow a shoe size or grow closer into that future me. And so when you start coming across these barriers and being like, oh, there's learning to be had here, there's suddenly a lot less threatening than when you're like, this is a problem, this is an obstacle that could stop me. It's actually not. It's an invitation for you to step up and step into that next level you. Mm-hmm. Because we're never, ever given anything that is beyond our capability to overcome, ever. And we are often presented with lessons purely to show us just how strong we are. Because a lot of the times you will think you could never, ever cope or deal with something that is thrown at you. And then it gets thrown at you. And you do.
And you deal with it. And you come out the other side better, stronger, more wise. Not everybody does. And I think this is where you've got to, for me, this is knowing when you need to reach out and get help to help you to get there. Because, you know, we can't all, not everybody's the same. We are all individuals and we've all been raised on the values and beliefs of others in schooling systems with our, you know, families and extended families and friends. So we're raised on the values and beliefs of others. Some of us don't form our own because we are so raised on the values and beliefs of others. And you can be in that capsule for your entire life and not know how to get out.
Yeah. It can be terrifying. And that's, that's the space where I was, where I got told with my depression that this is something you're prone to. It's something you're going to have your whole life. If you take these drugs and, kind of maintain therapy, then you'll learn to live with it. And that wasn't good enough for me. Like, I've always said, like, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of not living. And it was an existence to me. And for me, the medication that I was on made me not feel anything. And actually, that was far more terrifying to me than having the highs and the lows I was experiencing not on medication. And it really, really, really scared me. And so, that was when I came to, as I said, the cornerstone of my work now, which is the map of our reality. And what all the map is the systems and the processes that we've been conditioned to believe, those things that we believe to be absolute truths. But they're really not true. Like, I tell you, there's one thing that's true, and that is love, and that is it. And that can be a huge leap to believe, because fear stops us, and that's a layer that keeps us in our map of our reality, is that fear, quite often of the unknown. But with fear, you've got two choices. You've got forget everything and run, or you've got face everything and rise. But sometimes you need someone on the other side who's jumped off their map to show you what's possible. Because the amygdala, so there's a primitive part of our brain called the amygdala, which is that fight flight response. It actually has several other responses, but it's the stress response. It's the do or die response, basically. And all it wants to do is keep you alive. That's it. It doesn't care whether you're happy, whether you're fulfilled, whether you're financially stable. It doesn't care about any of that. It just wants you breathing in and out and your heart beating. That's it. And so remember, it's a primitive part. It dates back to caveman times and before that. And so the way it thinks is, okay, if you're here today, whatever you did yesterday worked. And so logically, all we've got to do is repeat exactly what we did yesterday, and you'll live another day. But that's not how we grow and how we change. That's keeping things the same and keeping ourselves small in that safe box. And as your creatives in here, I'll share my take on Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. So if you're familiar with the image, you've got a man stood feet together and arms out to the side. And then you've got another man with his arms up diagonally like this and his legs out wide. And you've got a circle around it and a square around that, right? So my take is that the man standing with his feet together represents the body. The circle around then represents the mind. The man out like this is the mind's body image. And this is our mind perception of us. And this is where cool stuff like body dysmorphia lives. Then came the rules. And that's the box. And now everyone's trying to get out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I come in, is I challenge you to start thinking outside of the box and to go through that process of unbecoming all the things you thought you were, got told you were, all the things you thought were possible and impossible, all the things you were told to believe and not believe. Actually strip it right back to its core, because you're fucking stardust wrapped in skin, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can, there is no end to the infinite possibilities of what you can accomplish and achieve. And the ripple effect of that, we're not just plonked on a planet like serendipitously to sort of walk around and like go to work, draw our pension, and then like kick the bucket. Like, why would something as intricate as us be put? Why would we be able to do art and music and all of that stuff? What's the point? We may as well be an amoeba.
We may as well.
There's a reason that we are here. And I honestly, with all my heart, believe that every single one of us are an absolutely vitally important part of the puzzle, of this whole. And it's not some big, profound part. Like, you don't have to think, oh God, no, this is too big for me. Like, I don't mean that. It's the tiniest things that can make the difference. You know, like one of the things I still remember to this day was I was going to a wedding in Northern Ireland, and at the airport we ran into an acquaintance. I didn't know her very well. And I was having a particularly bad day. And I was feeling like I looked absolutely horrendous. And I felt like everyone would be staring at me at this wedding. So I was so fat and so ugly, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, no one is. They're all going to be looking at the bride. But, you know, me and my little head. And she walked into the toilets where I was. And I'd literally just come out of the cubicle. And I'd been crying. I walked out and she was like, Jen, she was like, your legs look amazing in those jeans. And I was like, oh, thanks. And at the time, I could barely even take a compliment. So what does she want from me? But that moment stuck with me, and she will never, never know quite how big an impact her little throwaway comment that she just said to be nice had on me in that moment, in that day. And so you don't know the impact that you're having, and you don't need to know. That just by showing up as you and shining your light, your uniqueness, you will change lives, and you will quite likely save lives too, without even knowing.
And you don't need to know, do you? You don't need
to know. You never
just need to be you. Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's just show up and be you. And like Jen and I have made it our mission, haven't we, to help women find who they are. Sorry, the dog's having a bit of a fit behind me here. He's rolling around on the floor like Indious. Thanks, Jen. At least he hasn't got diarrhea. Which
we'll take that as a win.
So yeah, I think, you know, we could talk about this all night. We could still be here at midnight, really, couldn't we? Yeah, and everybody will have like, oh my God, brains exploded. I know, but it is, I think it comes back to the fact that, you know, we've got all this precious metal, this precious material in us that needs to, and it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter whether you're, you know, the most famous artist on the planet, or whether you are a good mum, or whether you're a good dog owner and that's your thing in the world. It doesn't matter, does it? As long as you're following your joy, that you're living your life fully.
And you're doing it for you, not for anybody else.
And that's me stepping into my skin and saying it's time to let go of that wonderful time I had with that wonderful man for those 7 years. Thank you that I had them, but this is my time, and I've got to be in that skin and be on that journey and be learning those lessons and going through that growth now, because that's what's destined for me. That's what I'm choosing to do. And that's what we've all got to choose to do, isn't it? Where are we now? What can I learn? Where do I want to be? What's that vision? What's your castle? I ask this all the time. What's your castle? Where's the water that you want to walk on? It's a lake by the castle. It's a lock by the castle. Yes.
I love it. And all it is, you know, making the choice to take a chance. Yeah. And your life can change like that. But you've got to make that choice, and you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and know that, yes, our amygdala is wired so that anything that makes us feel uncomfortable, it almost brings a sensation of, oh my God, I could die, which sounds dramatic, but actually physiologically and mentally, that's what's happening when we're really, really struggling. And so, as Mandy said, it's in those moments that it's so important to reach out to someone on the other side of the bridge, because there is always a way to cross. But sometimes you just need someone holding your hand, or just someone that's just one step up to just give you that yank, because that step's just a little bit too big for you to reach alone. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, and it's this teamwork, isn't it? It's the teamwork makes the dream work. Sorry, guys, I'm full of cliches. I love a cliche.
That's the best cliche. That's the best one so far. Thanks for that one.
You're welcome. You can have that one. No. It's not mine anyway. But it's that working as a collective together. Like, no man or woman is an island, and the ripple effect involves us all being able to accept help as much as we give help. And particularly as strong, independent women, we can find it very, very difficult to actually accept help, even if that's like letting someone buy us a coffee. Like, be like, no, this is my last £2 on earth, but I'm going to pay for my damn coffee. And it's not about that. Like, you're taking someone else's joy away sometimes by not being gracious about that offering helping hand, because actually there will be a time where you are that person reaching out that hand to help somebody else. And so to be a part of that magic where we're all giving and receiving, because it's all flow, money, time, energy, it's all just an exchange. We need to let it flow. So we were talking about the emotions before and letting them flow and not letting them stagnate. It's the same with everything. So it's giving and receiving. I'm sure you've heard the saying, to give is to receive. That's because it feels so fucking good to give. But you've got to be in a place where you're full enough to give before you can then receive. And if you're running on empty, you're actually really going to struggle to receive as well. So should take my own advice, really, shouldn't I, Mandy?
Right. Yeah, I did this on the masterclass. I told about time last night, and time and money, and how they're both the same, and that there's more than enough time and more than enough money.
Completely.
There's no limits to any of them. They're just there. They're just exchanges of energy like anything else. And people get stuck in the mindset of, I haven't got enough time, or, you know, you've got to work hard for money. No, you don't. You don't have to work. You just have to work smart, and you have to be in the moment, and you have to be living your dreams, and you have to be following plans and goals to get there, and asking for the help that you need at the time that you need it in the situation that you are in right now.
Yeah.
Because you can only change it when you stop and reflect and say, this is where I am. And that's the big thing. That's what I did this morning when I took off my wedding ring and my engagement ring and said, this is it. This is where I am. I'm in this little flat in Dalbeattie with dogs plodding around behind me, renovating this massive house that's costing me loads and loads of money, that is just pure joy for me. And I am living every moment. And I have to say, everybody said to me, oh, you must have worked really, really, really hard to do your 5-day challenge. And I said, yeah, I worked really, really hard, preparing it all, building it all. In the week leading up to it, I was asleep on the couch by lunchtime every single day, looking after myself, recharging myself, refilling myself, so that I could go on stage every night and be the best for the people that I wanted to help.
Yeah.
That's how to be. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. Sometimes I'm not. But that's about me stepping into the skin I'm in, knowing where I'm at, and accepting the challenge every single day.
And accept where you're at as well, like where you're at right now, and nothing's forever. It is just for now. But it's, you know, it's 100% putting you first, because it's only by putting you first that you're then able to show up for all the other people. So, you know, I know Mandy's really hot on having her beauty appointments, because then, you know, she's able to show up looking good, feeling good, looking professional, and like you're taking care of yourself. You're walking the talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of people, particularly mums, can I've certainly been guilty of this recently, put ourselves at the bottom of the pile and do everything else. Even the laundry comes above us, like even the dishwasher. And it's like, hang on. Like, if you put yourself first, then you're not going to be snapping at the kids. You're going to be emptying and loading the dishwasher and the washing machine much, much easier. There's going to be a grace about it that's not there when you're effing and blinding because you haven't had a shower for 3 days and you're running on 4 hours sleep in the last 10 weeks. So it's about taking that time, because you are the center of your world and the center of your universe, and your world, your life does not exist without you. You're the only one observing it in that way. And when you're not there observing it, it ceases to be at all. And so actually, there is no life without you. So you've got to put yourself front and center of that stage. And, we were saying play the victim or rewrite the script. Well, actually, you get to write the script, you get to direct, you get to produce, you get to do the lighting, you get to do everything. You get to be all of those parts in your life. You've got to give yourself permission to be it. And you've got to rewrite the rule book. You've got to strip back those layers of conditioning. And like I say, you've got to unbecome all the stuff that you thought you had to be, with the good job and the degree and the car and the 2.4 children. And what the hell is 2.4 children anyway? But none of it matters. There's no right way of doing things. And if the last 18 months have taught us anything, it's that, things are so fragile, and all of these systems that we thought were like solid, they're all built on sand. Mm-hmm. And Mandy and I were talking about the fuel crisis yesterday. Like, what fuel crisis? There's no fuel crisis. There's only a fuel crisis if you're trying to get petrol and you can't get it. But there isn't a shortage of fuel. We have fuel. It's just that suddenly everyone's trying to buy it at the same time because someone thought it would be fun to tell everyone there was a fuel shortage.
Government conspiracy. Yeah.
Yeah. Conspiracy theorists. But yeah, just be you, nothing else.
Thank you. Honestly,
who that is.
I mean, growth and change, accept it. It's a way of life.
It's inevitable, guys.
Live the skin you're in. It's going to happen. Whatever you're worried about, you know what? It's going to happen and you'll deal with it and you'll get over it. But looking at who you are today, where you are today, and saying, this is okay. I'm okay. This is okay. I just am. And I'm going to do my very best. That's what I've done. And that's why I decided to have this talk with Jen. And let's just sort of have a real debate about this. And if there's a couple of things in here that's made you think tonight about, I can do something. I can do something with my life. Then it was worth us sitting here having a chat tonight because, we are nothing if we don't help each other. We are nothing if we don't speak out. We are nothing if we don't share our truths, our stories, our difficulties, our successes. We are nothing if we don't communicate with each other. And growth comes from understanding, and change comes from understanding. And when we understand better, both become more easy. Yeah. That's how I see it. It becomes easier. So I want you to go out with your flag, marching over the border, saying, that's it. I am going to step into the skin I'm in right now, and I'm going to accept whatever life throws at me, and I'm going to do my absolute best because you deserve everything. Where is your castle? Yeah. Tell me where your castle is. Thank you for watching tonight. Thank you for being here, Jen. I know it's been longer than normal. I could just chat to you forever. I hope that people have watched at least some of this, if not all of it. If you've watched all of it, well done.
Well done. Yes, well done. Go and row your boat gently down your stream.
Thank you so much, Jen. And I will see you all same time, same place next Tuesday night, 7 p.m. for Creative Genius TV. Who knows who'll be on? It'll definitely be me, but who knows who else? And Jet probably.
Shameless plug. If anyone any of the bits that I've talked about today, you are welcome to join my emailing list by going on to jenmansfield.co.uk, where I share my mind musings and ramblings occasionally, in the hope of giving you a new perspective and a little bit of insight into how and why you do what you do and how you could do things differently if you choose to change and grow.
All of Jen's links are in the description, which is either up there or there. So click them. That'll make it easy for you. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being here, Jen.
Thank you,
See you all next week. Bye.